Jai Hind students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Students, today in this session we'll be discussing Lenz's law and the principle of conservation of energy. We have already studied about Lenz's law. Lenz's law states that the direction of the induced current so produced in the coil is such that it always opposes the changes or causes that produces it. Now let's try to verify this Lenz's law, and we'll also discuss that Lenz's law is perfectly in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. So for that, what we consider is, let us consider a solenoid. This is a solenoid and let it be connected to an electric lamp or a sensitive galvanometer. Suppose this is an electric lamp, or you can connect it a sensitive galvanometer as well, right? This is suppose an electric bulb. And let us consider this to be the solenoid. Now imagine a bar magnet. Suppose this is a bar magnet with its north pole facing the solenoid is moving towards the solenoid, right? So let me repeat it again. We have considered a solenoid which is connected with an electric bulb, electric lamp, or a very sensitive galvanometer. Now what we have considered is, we have considered a bar magnet with its north pole facing the solenoid, and it is moved towards the solenoid like this. So obviously, as the magnet is brought closer to the stationary solenoid, then the magnetic field lines linked with the solenoid will keep on increasing, isn't it? So due to the increase in the magnetic field lines or increase in the magnetic flux linked with the solenoid, an induced current or induced EMF will be produced in the solenoid, right? And the direction of the induced current in the solenoid will be such so that it opposes the increase in the magnetic flux, or it opposes the approaching magnet. So for that, students, the direction of the induced current in the solenoid should be in the clockwise direction. It should be like this. Small I denotes the induced current. The direction of the induced current in the solenoid should be such that it opposes the approaching magnet. It can oppose the approaching magnet only when this end of the solenoid acquires north polarity and this end of the solenoid acquires south polarity. So looking from this side, the current should be flowing in the clockwise direction like this. So this must be the direction of the induced current in the solenoid as warranted by Lenz's law. So due to the flow of this induced current, the lamp glows, isn't it? And it radiates light energy. Now look, according to the energy conservation principle, work equivalent to electric energy which makes the lamp glow must be done by the agent in pushing the magnet towards the solenoid. And this agent is to push the magnet towards the solenoid against the magnetic force of repulsion. North pole, these are the like poles, so there will exist a magnetic force of repulsion. So the agent has to perform some work in moving the magnet closer to the solenoid against this magnetic force of repulsion, isn't it? So obviously, when the magnet with its north pole towards the solenoid is moved towards the solenoid, it experiences an opposing force due to the magnetic field. And obviously, mechanical work has to be done in moving the magnet. Students, this work done in moving the magnet against this force, it results in the form of electric energy or induced EMF. And hence, obviously, Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. So point to be noted is that induced current or induced EMF is always of opposing nature. It is always of opposing nature. Means, for whatever reason or cause induced current or EMF is produced in the coil or solenoid, the direction of the induced current will be such that it opposes that changes or causes that produces it. Here, due to the approaching magnet, the field lines linked with the solenoid are increasing. So, here, due to the increase in the magnetic flux or due to the approaching magnet, the induced current is produced. So, the direction of the induced current will be such that it opposes the approaching magnet, right? So, its direction, the direction of induced current is always to oppose the changes or the causes that produces it. So it's always of opposing nature. And as I've stated, if this is north pole of the bar magnet, this end of the solenoid must also acquire the similar polarity, so that there exists magnetic force of repulsion. So the work done by this agent in moving the magnet closer to the solenoid against this magnetic force of repulsion, that gets converted into electric energy in the form of induced current, and which then helps in making the bulb to glow. So one energy, that is mechanical energy, getting converted into electrical energy, then electrical energy getting converted into light energy. So that is how we can safely conclude that Lenz's law is perfectly in accordance with the principle of conservation of energy, right? So here, mechanical energy, which is performed by the agent in making the magnet move closer towards the solenoid against the magnetic force of repulsion, it gets converted into electrical energy, which further gets converted into light energy. So it is perfectly in accordance with the work energy theorem, that is, it obeys the principle of conservation of energy. Now students, let's consider the other scenario. Like, if we consider for a second that the direction of the induced current in the solenoid be considered to be against the direction as is warranted by Lenz's law, then what will happen? Let's check it out. Suppose this is the same solenoid I am talking about, and this is the magnet with its north pole facing towards the solenoid is brought closer. Now let us assume that this end acquires south polarity and this end acquires north polarity, so that the direction of the induced current when seen from here is anti-clockwise. Let us assume it. So basically, this is the direction of the induced current against the Lenz's law, right? So in this case, what we do is, if the current in the solenoid is assumed to be flowing in a direction against Lenz's law, then what happens is the magnetic field lines will be produced from right to left, isn't it? Like this. It will produce from right to left, and the magnet would be attracted towards the solenoid. Look, this is north and this is south. So obviously there will be magnetic force of attraction. So agent in bringing the magnet towards the solenoid it will also experience magnetic force of attraction, which will aid the agent in bringing the magnet closer to the solenoid. So, if current were to flow in the direction opposite to that determined by Lenz's law, then this lamp would radiate energy, and at the same time the magnet would gain kinetic energy at the expense of nothing, which is obviously against the principle of conservation of energy. Hence, the induced current cannot flow in a direction other than determined by Lenz's law. That is, always remember, the induced current flows in a direction so as to oppose the cause or the change that produced it. Again, I repeat, students. In this case, when the magnet is brought closer, if we consider the induced current to be flowing in a direction against as was warranted by Lenz's law, then what will happen is, at the expense of nothing, no need to do any sort of work, because the magnet will itself get attracted towards the solenoid due to this magnetic force of attraction. So, as it experiences force towards the solenoid, it will gain in velocity, so its kinetic energy will increase. And due to the change in the magnetic flux, it will result in the production of induced current, which will then further light up the bulb. So, in such a scenario, the bulb will radiate light energy, as well as the magnet will gain in kinetic energy at the expense of nothing. Now, without this spending of some energy, or without doing any work, it can't be converted into any form of energy, isn't it? So it will be against the law of conservation of energy. So obviously, this direction of the induced current is wrong. So we have proved that the direction of the induced current, as is warranted by Lenz's law, is perfectly in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. Now students, let us discuss Fleming's right-hand rule. Actually, we know that when a conductor is moved inside the magnetic field in a direction perpendicular to the direction of the magnetic field, then induced EMF is produced across its two ends. The direction of flow of current can be found by applying Lenz's rule, and this direction of flow of induced current can also be found by applying Fleming's right-hand rule, when the direction of motion of the conductor inside the magnetic field and the direction of the magnetic field acting on it are known. So let us assume this to be the right hand, and this is, suppose, the thumb. Let us consider this to be the forefinger, and this to be the central finger or the middle finger. This is, suppose, the central finger. And this is right hand. So, what we need to do is, in order to find out the direction of induced current produced in a coil, right? Whenever it is moved under the influence of perpendicular magnetic field, then in order to find its direction, we make use of Fleming's right hand rule. So this is the right hand, and this is thumb, this is forefinger, and this central finger. So we need to stretch all the three fingers so that they are mutually perpendicular to each other. They all are perpendicular to each other. Right? They all are mutually perpendicular to each other. In that case, if the thumb represents the motion of the conductor, the forefinger represents the direction of the magnetic field, then the central finger must represent the direction of the induced current. Clear, students? So basically, Fleming's right hand rule states that if the thumb, the forefinger, and the central finger of the right hand are kept perpendicular to each other, they're all mutually perpendicular to each other, so that the forefinger points towards the direction of the magnetic field. The thumb points in the direction of the motion of the conductor. Then the induced current flows in the direction of the central finger. Here M, it is the motion of the conductor. M represents the motion of the conductor. B, it represents the forefinger, it represents magnetic field. It represents magnetic field. While the central finger, it represents induced current. Right? So this is it. This is my right hand. This is the thumb, this is the forefinger, and this is the central finger. You need to stretch the thumb, the forefinger, and the central finger in such a manner that they all are mutually perpendicular to each other. And in that case, if this thumb represents the direction of the motion of the conductor, the forefinger represents the direction of the field, that is the magnetic field, then the central finger will point towards the direction of the induced current. Right? So this is the rule to be used so as to find out the direction of induced current produced in a loop when it is moved in a perpendicular magnetic field. Let's do some examples. Now in the following 4 examples A, B, C and D, we are supposed to find out the direction of the induced current so produced in these coils by applying Fleming's right hand rule, right? So here in all the 4 cases, PQRS, it's a region of uniform magnetic field where cross, this symbol indicates the direction of the magnetic field perpendicular to the plane of the paper and directed inwards, right? And dot, it represents the direction of the magnetic field perpendicular to the plane of the paper and directed outwards. It is directed outwards. And ABC, this is a loop which is taken in the outward direction. This is another circular loop which is made to enter the region of magnetic field. There is a rectangular loop which is again brought inside the region of the magnetic field. And in all the 4 cases, due to the change in the magnetic flux linked with the loop, induced current is produced. So our objective is to determine the direction of the induced current making use of Fleming's right hand rule, right? So this is the rule which we have discussed. So let's apply Fleming's right hand rule in the first case. Let's find out the direction of the induced current in the arm AB, right? So this loop ABC is moved in the outward direction. So in the arm AB, the direction of motion would be along this direction. This is the direction of the motion of the conductor, right? And the direction of the magnetic field is cross, that is inwards. So let's make use of this rule. This thumb represents the motion, the forefinger represents the magnetic field, and the central finger represents the induced current. So here magnetic field is inward direction like this. The thumb, which represents the direction of the motion, is from left to right. So as a result, the direction of the induced current, which is represented by the middle finger, is from A to B. It's directed along this direction, isn't it? So I made use of Fleming's right hand rule. So this represents the direction of the motion of the conductor, that is this M. The forefinger, that represents the direction of the magnetic field, which is directed inwards, and the central finger or middle finger of the right hand, that represents the direction of the induced current, which in this case will be from A to B. So the direction of the induced current will be from A to B like this. So in the loop it will be in the clockwise direction. In the loop it is in the clockwise direction. So the direction of induced current in case 1 is clockwise. Now let's consider the second scenario. Here the circular loop is made to move inside. This is M. This is the motion of the conductor, right? Magnetic field is represented by cross, that is inward, it is directed inward. So let's apply again this rule. This thumb represents the motion of the conductor. The forefinger represents the direction of the magnetic field, which is in the inward direction like this, isn't it? And this represents motion, it's in the outward direction like this. So this thumb represents the direction of motion, M, B, I. So here it is motion of the conductor is from right to left. The direction of the magnetic field is inward, and central finger, it represents the direction of the induced current. So in this case, it will be in the anti-clockwise direction. This is the direction of the induced current, isn't it? So it will be like this, in the anti-clockwise direction. Anti-clockwise. Okay. Now again, let's consider this third case. This is ABCD, a rectangular loop which is made to enter this region of uniform magnetic field, right? This is the direction of motion of the conductor. This is M. So let's find out the direction of the induced current in the arm CD. So here again, this is the motion of the conductor. This is the magnetic field, it's in the inward direction, so it will be like this. The thumb represents the motion of the conductor, the forefinger represents the direction of the magnetic field, and the central finger represents the direction of the induced current, which will be from D to C, as it's pretty evident by applying this particular rule, right? So it will be from D to C. That is again in the anti-clockwise direction. Anti-clockwise direction. Okay, now let's consider case 4. Here again it's the case of a rectangular loop which is taken in the away from the region of the magnetic field. So let's consider the arm AD. It is moved in the outward direction. This is the direction of the motion. And remember students, here the magnetic field is represented by dot. Dot means perpendicular to the plane of the paper and directed outwards. It's like this. Magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the paper and directed outwards like this. So let's apply this rule. This is M, this is B, and this is I. So here the magnetic field is directed in the outward direction. This is the magnetic field. It's directed outward. This thumb represents the motion of the conductor. It is from left to right, and this finger, which is the central finger, it represents the direction of the induced current, which is from D to A. It's like this. Right, students? So it will be from D to A in case D. So this is it. So in this case also, the direction of the induced current in the loop is anti-clockwise. Let us consider, students, this region, let us assume it to be P, Q, R, S. This is a region of uniform magnetic field. And here in this region, suppose the magnetic field is given by this symbol dot. That is, in this region the magnetic field is uniform and it is directed perpendicular to the plane of this paper and directed outwards like this. The magnetic field lines are directed outwards, right? So PQRS be a region of uniform magnetic field in which the magnetic field in the given region is assumed to be constant and its direction is perpendicular to the plane of the paper and directed outwards. So this is a region of uniform magnetic field, right? So this dot represents the direction of the magnetic field. This dot, it represents the direction of the magnetic field. So magnetic field directed perpendicular to the plane of the paper and outwards directed perpendicular to the plane of the paper and in the outward direction. Okay. Now what we assume is, let us consider a closed loop. Let this to be a closed loop. This is a closed loop. Let it be A, B, C and D, right? And let us consider this to be L. And this portion which is inside the region of uniform magnetic field be X. So students, what we've assumed is PQRS is a region of uniform magnetic field where magnetic field is directed perpendicular to the plane of the paper and in the outward direction, right? And ABCD is any closed loop. Now, as we have discussed in Faraday's experiment, if this closed loop is well within inside the region of uniform magnetic field, then no magnetic flux gets changed through the loop and accordingly no induced current is produced. But if this loop is made to move out of this region of uniform magnetic field with, say, velocity v. Now, as it is, the loop is moved outwards, the effective area, this is the effective area at this instant, the effective area of the loop under the influence of magnetic field, it keeps on changing. Now, students, we are aware magnetic flux associated with the loop is scalar product of magnetic field and area vector. So what happens is the angle between these two, area vector would be also in the outward direction, the magnetic field is also in the outward direction. So the angle between these two is 0 degree. So it is BA cos 0. The 0 degree is the angle between the magnetic field and area vector. Area vector of a given loop is always perpendicular to the area of the loop and in the outward direction. So the angle between these two is 0 degree. So flux at any instant associated with this loop is BA. This area A will keep on changing as the loop is made to move in the outward direction, isn't it? At this instant, this shaded portion is the area of the loop. This is the effective area of the loop which is under the influence of magnetic field, right? So as the loop is moved in the outward direction, due to change in this area, the magnetic flux linked with this loop will also change. And we are aware whenever there is a change in the magnetic flux linked with the loop, an opposing induced EMF or induced current will get produced in it. Similarly, students, when the loop is brought inside, then with the passage of time, the effective area of the loop under the influence of magnetic will keep on increasing. So again, due to the increase in the magnetic flux linked with the coil, again an induced current will get produced. So whether the loop is taken out of this region of uniform magnetic field or it is brought inside the region of uniform magnetic field, in both the cases, induced current will get produced. But in both the cases, the direction of the induced current will be opposite, right? So let us find out the expression for the motional EMF. So due to the motion of this loop, the EMF so produced in such a case is known as motional EMF. So now let's try to find out the expression for the motional EMF. So as I've told you, this A area is equal to the effective area of the loop which is under the influence of magnetic field. Now in this case, the effective area of the loop which is under the influence of magnetic field is this portion, this shaded one, which is L into X. Right? And also students, if V is the velocity, constant velocity with which the loop is made to move in the outward direction. So obviously the value of x will change with time. So the time rate change in the value of x, that will give us the velocity with which the loop is moved in the outward direction, right? So it is dx by dt. So differentiation of this x with respect to time, that will give us the uniform velocity with which the loop is taken out of the region of magnetic field. Now we are aware E is given by minus d phi by dt. We all are aware of it. E stands for the induced EMF. This negative sign obviously suggests that the EMF so induced in the coil is of opposing nature as per Lenz's law, right? So let's try to evaluate it. Let's substitute the value of phi. Phi is BA. Now, effective area of the loop at the instant is L into X. Now, as we have considered the magnetic field in the region PQR is to be uniform. So, B can be taken outside the differentiation. L, this portion will remain constant, isn't it? Only this value of X will change with time. So, what we can do is minus BL dx by dt. And as I have told you, this time rate change in the value of x will give us the velocity with which the loop is taken outside. So it will be minus BLV. So this is the expression for the motional EMF. And as I have always maintained, this negative sign suggests that this induced EMF is always of opposing nature. So in magnitude, the formula for the induced EMF is BLV. So this is the formula for the motional EMF. Now students, let's find out the direction of the induced current in the coil. Now here, in order to find out the direction of the induced current, we have to make use of Fleming's right hand rule, isn't it? So, this is the direction of the magnetic field in the outward direction. This is the direction of the magnetic field. This is the direction of motion of the conductor, right? This is the direction of the motion of the conductor. This is the direction along which the loop is made to move, and this is the direction of the magnetic field. Now we are already aware, whenever there is a case of motion of a conductor under the influence of perpendicular magnetic field, here obviously V is perpendicular to the magnetic field. In such a case, the direction of the induced current can be obtained by using Fleming's right hand rule, right? So Fleming's right hand rule, we are already aware. This is my right hand. We have to stretch the thumb, the forefinger and the central finger in such a manner that they all are mutually perpendicular to each other. In such a case, if the thumb represents the motion of the conductor, the forefinger represents the direction of the magnetic field, then the central finger will represent the direction of the induced current, right? So in this case, students, let's consider this one. This is the direction of the motion of the conductor, right? So this is like this. And this is the direction. The thumb indicates the direction of motion of the conductor. It is made to move. The coil is made to move from left to right. This finger represents the direction of the magnetic field, which is in the outward direction. So this finger, which is the central finger, gives the direction of the induced current, which will be from C to B. It's from C to B. So the direction of the induced current in this loop would be in the anti-clockwise direction, like this. So this is the direction of the induced current. So students, I hope you have understood all the topics which we have done in this particular episode. So let's wind up this episode and do join me in my next lecture. Till then, do take very good care of yourself and thank you.